Hey, how's it going? I thought I'd read you some cards. But first, please look at some signs. So, I pulled 3 cards today. Uh, and I pulled one from Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, Horned Cactus, Resourcefulness, I think is the subtitle. Resourcefulness is the subtitle. And it is a prickly person. There's a face hidden in there. And I know that the horns are reminiscent of the the QAnon shaman, but I think that's just like a local, a lately sort of like reverberation in the zeitgeist, I guess. But also, the guy is, I think, from Arizona, and that is where you would find cacti in, like, one of the desert states. So, I don't know if. I don't think that really had. I didn't think it had any bearing on what I thought when I had my pull and everything all pulled. But anyway, this is the deck, the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck. Oh, look, it is right way up. Wow, for once. And, whoa. And the card is number 29, which, well, do your numerology. 2 and 9 or 11, if you add them. And I pulled 2 cards from the Wild Unknown. Gosh, come on. I don't want to play card deck dominoes. Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. And I didn't mean to pull 2, but I thought it was feeling better. Psych. But it's just, I think, funny that these particular 2 came out. And they are whoa, come on now. Left hand is starting to malfunction. Gazelle and Buffalo. They're both earth signs, right? Oh no, my bad. The gazelle's a fire sign, or not sign, element. And this guy is a earth element. But they share a couple of things in common. And when I saw that I pulled both of these, the first thing that came to mind was on the hoof. So they're both hooved beasts. Everybody's got a horns. Everybody's a horned beast today, or animal, vegetable. There's probably minerals at the root and feet of all of these guys. Okay, calm down, cards. So, I'm gonna begin with these first. So yeah, they both are hooved beasts. They are, they tend to gather in herds. And, so, the thing about a herd is like it's sort of a hive mind in a way, because they will move together almost like it's choreographed, like it's some kind of dance or something, but it's not. It's just like whatever would set either of a bunch of these things running. Something startled or scared them, like a predator is coming, or a fire, something. But once one starts going, I think what happens is the other ones go, what? Wait, shoot, am I supposed to run? I gotta run. Come on, let's run. Like, I think a sort of, flight. What is it? Well, they're not gonna fight unless, I don't know, I guess unless they're cornered. They can, like, gore you. or this guy just run you down, shake his head and really mess you up. Well, I don't know. The horns on this guy is kind of at an awkward angle, but I imagine they can still like dip down their head and mess you up pretty bad. So they're not defenseless. Also, hooves. You don't want to get struck by a hoof. I've never heard anyone come away from it with something good to say about the experience. Like, it usually involves medical care. So, but you got to have your defenses if you are. Well, these guys are not prey to much of anything but us. These guys, that's not the case. We're not their only threat. It doesn't matter though. The herd is also where they go for strength, safety in numbers. Pardon me, they'll be aware of that. So I thought it, in a way, well, it made me think first of nomadic tribal humans. I think some still exist actually today, probably. I want to say on the steppes that are sort of like Siberia, Asia-ish. It's sort of a blendy area there, I think, if I remember correctly. But, why did I start talking about that? Holy crap. Oh, the nomadic people. The reason why those people were nomadic, like they moved around and they traveled to where the pickings were good, perhaps following seasons. And so even more to the human side of things with these guys, I thought, well, you'll see why. I thought that because they are what they are and they exist on a wordless level, they do have to communicate with each other. And so, like with the flock or the herd movement, it also reminded me of flock of birds because they will all move in sync. And it doesn't look like it will make, like, the signals don't have to make sense to us. We have the joy of just getting a look at it, pretty much, I think. But even if they're in a huge panic, there's going to be like a collective linkage, I think. Like a telepathic linkage almost, where they all collectively sense that, like, okay, we can go down into this ravine, but oh, watch out, like it drops off into, like, you'll all fall onto sharp rocks and die, or I don't know, sometimes they do that, and like maybe they can't stop in time, or what they're seeing is not translating as danger. But assuming something like that doesn't happen, they're gonna go like a different way from where they were going, like they may not have been like headed anywhere or stampeding in particular or even traveling, but they either sense something to fear, like some sort of threat, maybe in the form of man or natural disaster. So they can sense, animals can sense things, particularly like, weather coming like sooner than we will. The pressure changes and things like that, and probably light changes and spectrums that our eyes don't see will alert them to things. I'm not going to say that I imagine, because I think most of that is probably the case. But they go to where, like, if they're where they were is like messed up or used up for the season, or you leave because the weather becomes bad, and so you want to move to greener pastures, like literally, So I have thought, like, Actually, it was a long time ago, but I thought that, there might be a time when we, modern humans in the United States, people laughed at the preppers for a long time, but I think they may be starting to catch on after like Katrina forced like half of a whole state to like move into the next one and other neighboring ones, and barely recovered like however many years later it is now. But like, I don't know, I'm just gonna guess, but like, I'm not gonna guess. It seems like a long time. But those migrations wounded people, like they didn't want to go back, and they lost like a personal parts of their like identity because the city was part of them. And I think when it's come back, I don't think a lot of people went back, and the ones that are there bring like a whole different vibe to the place. Like if they're a bunch of out-of-towners, it's like if you don't have like the decades of tradition and stuff on the land, and like your family's just been there for ages and ages, like through slavery and slave ownery and civil war and the put back together. I can't remember. But when the Civil War ended and the nation had to like mend, and and all of those events would have caused migrations, so that word gets like a bad stain on it lately because people just, what we do, some of us here in America, we demonize a class of people, and migrants are one of them, or immigrants, or illegal immigrants. They'll just call people that. Not everyone, just certain ones among us. They're loud. It's hard to miss them if you have some kind of device that broadcasts news or paper or whatever it is. And they like dehumanize or change your humanity, or devalue it, and just like you're ruined because some people fall in line with that kind of thinking. And it's, I don't know, like I kind of feel like it's bad vibes. So sorry, I didn't mean to snore. But anyway, so speaking of that type of person, one of them was screaming and yelling about an airport being full of brown people and migrants. And I just had to laugh because don't you go to an airport basically to migrate from where you are to someplace else? Like everybody there, if they're not flying the migrants to the place they're migrating to, they're riding a plane and literally migrating from one place to another, because that's what is called when the human body travels places. I just think it's funny. But yeah, I think it's getting to be kind of obvious now that the weather is getting very serious, and I don't care if you don't understand what weather has to do with climate change. That's always been my point. We argue about that, or I don't, but a lot of people sit there and argue over that point instead of just like cutting straight through it and going, hey, how do we live with it, in it? How do we fix it? So some people have, I don't know if that's everyone's reason, but I think it's a good thing to have picked up some prepper habits, because if the weather moves in because climate change has accelerated its intensity exponentially, your place where you live just might not be habitable anymore, or it might become too expensive to live there because habitations are at a premium, and you may not have them premium dollars to fork out. So what do? You got to move to someplace more affordable, like if you can. Otherwise, you're roughing it. So, and then, what if the place is beyond repair and then everybody has to move, regardless of their station? Like, that place is just not a place to go live anymore because it's flooded. It's got too many sinkholes. Hurricane infection rash. There's a lot of things. And earthquakes, boy, I don't know. Are those accelerating in strength too? Because I grew up in earthquake country, and I still live in earthquake country. But they don't happen with the regularity of tornadoes. So that's a good thing. And they are not as destructive as everybody fears they can be very often. But some in coastal areas, which I'm adjacent to, are overdue for big subduction. But I don't want to hear that. But all that oil we take out of the ground. Well, that is how we use it? We use it for like a lubricant. Guess what it does to the earth? It's a lubricant. If you take it out, guess what's going to happen when there's an earthquake? And it's not going to quake so smoothly. It's going to be those, I'm telling you, those are the hard ones to be in. It's like a snapping under there, and then it just kind of vibrates upward, and I think it's stronger as it goes. So we did that. We helped with that. And I'm not saying that we're responsible for like everything that's happening with climate change. It is true, it does happen all on its own. But we didn't help. We helped it be more intense. There's plenty of science to prove it. I don't care if you believe in the science. Look around. Look around in 5 years and then talk to me about science or not. It's not even gonna be a discussion. I don't know. That may not even be a thing that happens. I'm just saying. Or don't look into the future for something worse. Look back and see how things used to be, how they weren't as bad. There's a measure for you. So, yeah, that's, it just made me think like we may have to make a lot of accommodations for ourselves and each other that we are not doing for many of us that are already in a situation that I am sort of alluding to. And more, I think, probably every day end up without a place to live because housing is at a premium now where there's not a disaster that whooshed in and washed away half of the housing. So I think a lot of people have this mentality, which I did too for a long time, just thinking we were going to have an apocalyptic future like all of the movies, and they were kind of reinforcing that. But also, maybe not reinforcing it so much as, but maybe also saying, hey, this is what could happen. Maybe you don't want that. So here's what it could look like. Maybe stop what you're doing. Or look at what you're doing. I mean, I don't think media and entertainment rot your brain. I think if you look at it in a certain way, it's informative. And I don't mean just that it's like educational television. It can be like the stupidest fiction ever. Still going to be something in there telling you something about us. Oh my goodness, my neck is hurting. I don't know what's up with that. Oh yeah, I do. I do. No pillow. So, we may have to collectively hug the horned cactus. And full disclosure, I'm like bastardizing a line that Robert Downey Jr. related from a story that Mel Gibson said it to him in. He helped him recover and from his major drug problem. Robert Downey Jr., if you don't know about that, look it up. He used to have a major drug problem, and I'm just laughing because I'm remembering one of the times he got busted. Like Goldilocks. Look it up. Anyway, I guess Gibson told him while he was recovering, he was staying like at his compound in Hollywood, so I don't know what you know about Gibson. He, I believe he drinks. I don't know if he still does, but he's had some public episodes himself with substance abuse. And so anyway, he let Downey stay on his compound and clean up, like dry out, detox, whatever he was doing. And he was also sort of counseling, and he must have gone through treatment. Gibson, I think, over the years, because I know over the years his drinking has gotten public. Like, he's done enough of it to where you're hearing about it publicly. That's not good. So, somehow or another, he's cleaned himself up. So again, I don't know, like, what kind of shape he's in now, but anyway, I would assume he had some things he could say that would have been helpful to Downey, and Downey did finally clean up. But in the story that he told, he said that Gibson told him, sometimes you just gotta hug the cactus. Well, we are the cactus, but like I was just saying, you know, we might be forced to migrate into closer quarters than we'd like, or than we're used to, just because of circumstances beyond our control. And you know, it might not have to be a natural disaster, but what I was gonna move along into was, yeah, it could be a national disaster if, like, housing and landlords and landowners don't stop being such buttheads. Like, holding out for all the money, and then oh gosh, no one wants the homeless, but people are in no hurry to stop doing the things that make people homeless. So I mean, pick a lane, people that can do that to other people. We're just trying to do our thing over here and keep the whole machine going, because we work all of the stupid jobs. So can you not mess with the machine? But you know, we will have to accommodate each other. We will have to make changes. I mean, it is my belief, but it's also what kind of adds up, you know, because what we're doing when we're not getting along and we're not even trying with each other, then, you know, what's getting done? Stuff needs to get done. Like, we gotta, like, seriously, stop taking stuff personal and get stuff done. And also, we know that we can't talk to each other. I hear it on both sides now. I wasn't for a long time, but now I'm hearing people on the right saying it too. So, saying the same things that people on the left do about not being able to talk to each other. That's a starting point. I know you don't recognize it, but I think the problem might be that you can't talk to each other because you don't want to try. You just want to be right. Well, maybe you don't get that. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you do get to be heard, but we all gotta start listening to each other. We gotta let each other have our say. You know, I mean, just for me, I feel great when I get to say what's on my mind and have the person I want to say it to hear. Like, actually listen to the words coming out of my mouth. I think we all have that. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. It's not a crime. But when we get closer together and we are like in each other's bubbles, We can't be just being stupid with each other. It's just ridiculous. I mean, imagine if you were like confined to something where everybody had to live and you were close up on each other, you know, and you couldn't go out. Like, you just couldn't. You just die, and then you'd also like endanger everybody else if you tried to go out. So which way do you think would make it easier to live and get along under those circumstances? Be cool and like just always be trying to get along with the understanding that this is hard for me. Also, it's hard for this person that I'm interacting with, and everybody here, like everyone has a beef, a grief, you know, it's hard. Life is hard, and it could get harder, but it could get easier while it's hard if we're more together than not. And so we know we don't want to talk to each other, but you know what? Not talking to each other is kind of messing us up. And I think overall we don't want to be messed up. So, oh well, God, what am I doing on time? Not bad at all. I got just enough time to quick read this note thing. Gazelle and buffalo, two beasts on the hoof, as in on the move. Okay, I talked about that. Oh, so they live in a world unfiltered by enclosures, a metaphor for unrestricted thought. No constraints except for the incursions of structures, civilization. Apex animals? Us? We think too much. We think ourselves into corners when we've been ignoring the model of animals. Carry nothing, no attachment. Sense your surroundings. Is a storm on the way that will alter the terrain? Force them to move on to greener pastures. Ground ourselves by putting our feet on the ground. Enhance sensation. Shed the stress of modern life. Fear not. A move might be just what the doctor ordered. Embrace the fear of new surroundings. Even, oh boy, if forced, even if circumstances force you, forced to when, it may be it may be the unknown when push comes to shove. It's time to go. I mean, really, if it's time to go, you're going to be sitting there worried about ileology. You're going to be like, I need a hand. Can you help me up? Do you need help? I can hand you up. Like, that's who we become in those kind of situations. And that's closer to who I feel like I have reason to believe that's how we should be. the being so afraid of each other and so against each other, it's not good for us. Anyway, on that happy note, thank you and good night.